You are listening to the F11 Photography Podcast.
Chasers of light, to the purveyors of pictures, to all of you listening and now watching from around the world, this is the F11 Photography Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Deal, along with your other host, Mr. Brandon Gorey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the F11 Photography Podcast. This is this is a podcast where you can come and take a load off. It's a podcast where you can come and learn about photography, motion picture, and join us as we explore photography in both its technical aspects and its ambitious abstract form.
Yes, this is the F11 Photography Podcast, Season 2, Episode 1. And you may be watching on YouTube and being like, what do you mean it's Season 2? This is your very first episode you have uploaded. And you are correct, because Season 1 is 100% on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the major podcast platforms. It is audio only. And for those of you who are joining us in Season 2, who joined us in Season 1, thank you for coming back. We did take a hiatus at the end of December and early January because we have lives, and that's an important thing to spend time with family and all that. But
lives.
Lives. But for those of you who are primarily listeners and you're not going to join us on YouTube, that's totally fine. We're still going to continue this as a podcast, but we're also going to take it to YouTube, and we'll do our very best, like when we're describing something, to be very descriptive, because if you're listening, we may go, oh, look at this or look at that. And you may be like, dude, I'm just sitting here in my car in traffic and I don't see anything, Kevin.
Yeah, so we used to over describe things. We beat something into oblivion because we knew that we had no way to show people. Yes. And now we do.
So now that we are on video as well, if you are a listener, give us a little grace. It's something that we're going to have to develop a skill at, which is, oh yes, I need to be more descriptive, because part of the reason why we want to be on YouTube now, there's a few reasons. One, and the most important, is that this is a photography and videography related podcast. That's what we talk about. We talk about things that are visual. We are visual. That's who we are. That's who you are. Probably, if you're watching this or listening to this, you are a visual artist, because you pick up cameras and you go take pictures of things that you see, or you record things in video that you see. And so we don't feel like we could take this to its fullest potential if we didn't have some sort of visual accompaniment. And so that's what we're going to do on YouTube. Maybe if we have a guest in here, we'll have their work displayed on my laptop, which we can use our little switcher. And yes, we'll talk about Lucy here in a second. Well, let's just talk about Lucy right now. So Lucy is our mascot. She freaks Brandon out, which is why I have not let her leave yet. I actually found Lucy, and this is going to make Brandon laugh because he hasn't heard this part of the story. I was jogging, and I was taking my dog for a jog, and it was trash day, and someone had this on their curb, and I was like, that's cool. I'm going to use it for a shoot. And I was like, I'm eventually going to give it maybe to a designer, because if you don't know, Brennan and I are both portrait photographers. We tend to work with like fashion and agencies and brands and stuff like that. And so having a mannequin isn't the worst thing to have around if you're in that sort of industry. And so I grabbed her, but I didn't have a name for her. I was teaching a class on lighting, and I asked one of the students, I was like, hey, I have this mannequin because my model didn't show up that day. She was sick. And I said, name the model. And he's like, she's named Lucy. So Lucy is our freaky mascot. We'll leave her up here for as long as Brandon can stand. And yeah,
what you don't know about Lucy is when Kevin found her, there wasn't any duct tape on her. What really happened was Kevin took Lucy home, and then he ventured to his basement where they had a lot of fun for several hours, and she came out looking like this.
Do you want to know why I know Brandon is a liar? Because there are no basements in Texas. So
The
he's making up a
the
story.
proverbial basement.
So this channel is as much about photography and videography and as much as it is about me and Brandon and our relationship with each other. So real quick, we do need to reintroduce ourselves to people who've been with us for a while, because not everybody caught on season 1, episode 1, where we both interviewed each other and you got to know us. But if you do want to go more in depth on knowing us, I do recommend you go check out season 1, episode 1, and we may release our old episodes on YouTube at some point. That is a project that I'm going to put on the back burner. I put the first 3 episodes on. As a matter of fact, I think at the time of this recording, I still have the first few episodes up there. So I may do it, but man, we did 50 episodes last year. I don't know if I have time to go back and upload 50 episodes.
I think we could also do a rehash as well, because a year is a long time. We might not even have the same opinions or views on things because, of course, as time goes by, we are learning, we are changing, and that's really important for any photographer to do as well.
Absolutely. So like most friendships, we met over drinks. Okay. So we had a friend, Raphael, who actually was on season 1. You can go check that out if you want to listen to that awesome interview. He's a very artistic photographer, very interesting guy. And he was like, hey, the 3 of us should go out for drinks. And so we were like, yeah, let's go out for drinks. And so like half hour before we got for drinks, he's like, hey, I can't make it, but you two should just go. And so we did, and we hit it off, and we immediately recorded a YouTube episode on the Holga 120N camera, and which is a total piece of shit. And then from there, January 1 of last year, 2023, I was like, hey, I'm going to start a podcast. And then I thought to myself, well, nobody wants to just hear me talk for an hour. That would really suck. And having one perspective on everything is really boring. And I knew that Brandon was a little different than me. He's about, 15, 18 years younger than me too. So a little different perspective. And so I was just like, hey, let's start a podcast. And he's like, sure. And that was it.
And here we are a year later. We have a full setup. We got our own little, we got our studio. We've got our own space. If someone came up to me a year ago, Kevin said, by the way, you're going to be doing a podcast with another photographer, and it's going to develop to the point where we're on video with all these ideas, with several guests on, more than several guests on, who have, international, not international, but, well, maybe more international.
Clout?
Clout. What's the hood word for clout?
I don't know.
Renown?
Prominence?
Prominence? Yeah.
Sure.
So we've had a lot of great guests on, and I would have told you were a liar. It's incredible that we're here now, and it's really exciting.
Absolutely. We've had some great guests on here, and we're going to have some great guests moving forward. On those episodes, we're going to have to get rid of Lucy because there's not enough room.
It's a bummer, really. It's terrible.
So then it'll turn into Between Two Ferns, but it'll be Between Two Morons. The guest will be between two.
We're gonna
morons.
have a guest just peeking through here and just this is my opinion on photography. When I started out as a whatever, it's gonna be really interesting.
Yeah. Eventually, we're gonna get a bigger space. So, but this is what we do. This is the F11 Photography Podcast, which is now, of course, on YouTube, and we don't ask for money. We don't have a Patreon or anything like that. We have sponsors, and one of the reasons we started on YouTube is because eventually we can hopefully monetize, and so that'll be nice. But we don't want to do the Patreon thing where our hat's in hand and it's like, hey man, buy us a cup of coffee. It's not really our vibe. So yeah. So but we do have sponsors, and we're going to go into our first sponsor right now, which is Gamut. Today's episode is sponsored by Gamut. Are you looking for world-class cinematic video LUTs? Check out Gamut. Whether you're shooting on Sony, Canon, Panasonic, Nikon, DJI, or Blackmagic, their conversion LUTs bring all your footage to the same starting place. That's right, if you're shooting a wedding and one of your cameras is Canon and the other's Nikon, the footage will all end up looking the same. And don't worry, Fuji users, help is on the way. I've actually been in contact with Gamut, and they're telling me that they are working on LUTs for Fuji. They also make creative LUTs that are catered toward weddings, commercials, editorials, and YouTube projects. Gamut now also offers movie barcode generators. Want to create your own movie barcode? Well, now you can by using their entirely free movie code barcode generator. Use that generator to build out palettes and barcodes for your films. Go to gamut.io to check out their insanely generous holiday offerings, and I'll leave a link in the description of this pod.
Hey, this is Vanessa Joy, and you're listening to the F11 Photography Podcast.
Okay, so we are back.
We're back.
Yes, we have sponsors. We do that so we don't have to ask you for money. But one thing I do want to get out of the way is that if you are somebody who is a longtime listener, first and foremost, thank you. And if you could, because we are actually starting with 0 subscribers, maybe 4 or 5 on YouTube. We are starting from scratch on YouTube. So if you listen to this pod and you love this pod and you want us to grow, please go to YouTube and subscribe. That would be awesome.
And if you have a little bit extra time, make several burner accounts on YouTube and subscribe with those as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And then just, like set up 6 or 7 computers and just hit play on our episodes all day. And yeah, run our run times up, because that's how YouTube works.
If you happen to know an Indian bot farm and you're on good terms with them, send them our way.
Yes. So, I mentioned, so this episode is going to be kind of a getting to know us. We're going to go into episodes on photography and videography in depth soon, very soon. But Brennan and I have been gone for almost 3 weeks. And so we are now reconvening, and we are working on this new video version of the F11 podcast. So what did you do on your vacation, Brandon?
Well, on my vacation, I got to spend time with my family.
Awesome.
Yes.
Did you go anywhere special?
Well, let me tell you, I went to North Carolina. Okay, I'm going to cut this bit right now. Not cut this, but I'm cutting myself. So yeah, we went to North Carolina. And Kevin, I know that you're a very busy person. I'm a very busy person. I usually don't take weekends, and that's not like a brag or anything like that. It's just like I'm very happy to constantly be moving. And I went to spend time with my parents, my folks, for about a week and a half in the outskirts of Raleigh, North Carolina, and there is nothing to do over there. And so
I take it Raleigh's not very close to the Smoky Mountains, because there's plenty to do there. It's pretty.
It's not. Well, it's there's like kind of like stuff to do in Raleigh, but it's just like it's kind of like Austin. It's like you walk around, you eat, you drink, and then you walk some more. In that way, there's not like a super like spectacle to see, especially over the winter break when like nobody's there. So we spent a lot of time cooking, drinking coffee, watching movies. We watched The Dirty Dozen. I don't know if you've seen The Dirty Dozen. Fantastic movie.
Yes.
And as wonderful as it was to see my parents, I love my folks. I love spending time with them. It was very unproductive, and I wanted to like run a marathon every time I woke up. It was just like, I need something to do. But other than that, it was fantastic.
Nice. Yeah, I was busy, man. I did a whole rebranding of my photography. I got a new logo designed. I did a whole bunch of stuff, and then I released 9 YouTube videos when you include shorts since January 1st.
Tell the audience a little bit about those 9 videos, Kevin. So are they all YouTube videos?
Well, they're all released on YouTube, but 6 of them are shorts.
That's still really impressive. 3 videos over the break is insane. Like 3 actual like videos.
Yeah. I have 2 more ready to go for next week. So
wow.
I've been super busy. So if you don't know, and it's a self-promotional thing here, I have my own YouTube channel where I do reviews on gear. I do tips, techniques, and tutorials, and we dive into film on my channel. So check that out.
Yeah,
it's just Kevin Deal Photography, and I'll put a card up here because we can do that. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing about YouTube, cross promotion. Yeah. But I've been contacted by so many companies from China.
Yeah,
a ton. But here's the thing. They are upping their game. So I bought 2 Stella Pro lights, which were not cheap. Mm-hmm. If you're familiar with the Stella Pro Reflex lights, they're not cheap. I should be getting them hopefully in the next week or 2. And I'm going to do a full review on that. But for a quarter of the price, I was sent this.
Whoa, may I?
Grab that. Yeah.
Whoa. This looks like This looks like a tunneling device for our troops in Iwo Jima or something like this.
Yeah, so it looks
like
like it's got like
battle
a NATO rails system or something, so you can attach like your reflex sight on there.
Is it chambered in 5.56? Like, what is this thing, bro?
It's not 5.56 NATO. So this is a light, and I'm not promoting this. I'll eventually do a review on it. I tried it out yesterday at a session, but I cannot describe how insane the metalwork is on this. This feels way better than any strobe I own. Now, this is a continuous light. It's not a strobe.
This is continuous.
Yeah, it's continuous. So it's made by a company called Inky. It is IP65, so you can take it out in the rain. And then you just twist it. It takes a little bit of twisting because this thing gets hot and you don't want to cause a fire. But like you can see how much time you have left and all this other stuff. It's just USB-C. It's really cool. So anyway, point being is I'm getting all these really cool products from China of all places, but I have so many LED lights right now. I don't know, maybe we'll give one away in one of our episodes because I just got contacted by Godox again. I have like so many Godox lights now, and it's insane. But to your question, you were talking about YouTube. An interesting thing, because I know a lot of you who watch this probably don't know how any of this works because you don't have a YouTube channel, but there is an algorithm that YouTube has that's insane with shorts. So what they do is when you release a short, they'll just like release it out in the wild and it'll get a ton of views and you'll just see it go flat. They release it one more time and then it goes flat. And then like you won't get a view on a short for like days. Or you might get like you might get 1,000 views in an hour and then 10 views the rest of the day. It is one of the most controlled things. I guess the point there is don't put all your eggs in one basket if you're trying to make money because somebody else is controlling how much money you make. It's interesting.
Yeah, a lot of as someone who works in the YouTube space is kind of interesting. Is I know several big YouTubers. They spend a lot of money per month to have professional media places, media production companies to actually make multiple shorts a day for them at a really like high tier level. And they'll include like B-roll taken from the internet. They've got their own graphics packs and everything, their own like special like way to subtitle and transcribe videos. And so these like 1 to 3 minute shorts on YouTube that you'd think should take like 10, 20 minutes, you doing yourself, like they actually have a video team working on for you like day and night. And it costs like thousands and thousands of dollars a month. And so the reason being is shorts are incredibly important. That's what drives your subscribers. That's what drives people to your main videos because your main video algorithm, especially on a smaller account, is just not as good as shorts.
So you're saying that we should make shorts on this channel so we can start making money?
Yes.
And get subscribers.
Yes.
I think with YouTube to monetize, I think you need like 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watching or something like that, or they changed it.
That is lowered. It's 500 subscribers, and I think the watch time has been lowered. But there's either ors now.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because when I monetized back in 2022, and I want to say it was like 4,000 hours plus 1,000 subscribers or something like that. So I'm glad they finally like changed it. But so. An interesting thing, if you're new to this channel, Brandon and I, we both have two very different personalities. And if you listen to season 1, I'm the gearhead and Brandon is the abstract guy. That's really our relationship. However, things change. In the last 2 months, Brandon has outspent me on equipment by a metric shit ton. So we are recording ourselves on a new Nikon Z8 right now, which if you are hip to Nikon, you know how much that costs. I also see a small rig cage on there, which is specifically designed for a Nikon Z8, and I know that wasn't free. And so why don't you tell us what else you've purchased since you spent $4,000 on your Nikon Z8? What else have you purchased recently that has a comma in the price tag?
Oh, boy. Well, I recently got a Mint RB67.
An RB or RZ?
Well, okay, I was going to get the RZ, and the RZ is full, like the RZ is beautiful, the Pro 2, and I wanted to get it, and Mint, it would have been $1,700, like top rated Mint from these Japanese sellers, and I was going to pull the trigger. I was actually talking to you about this the other night at like 1 a.m. I was going to pull the trigger on a Pro 2, but because it is so electronically dependent, if there was a failure, the reinvestment would be terrible. It is a lot of money to get any electronics fixed on the RZ Pro 2. And Willem Verbeek, whom I know you've seen on YouTube, maybe, like a handful of times, he has two RZ Pro 2s, and they're both duds.
Yeah. Well, I remember.
I got the RB67 because, funny enough, Kevin has a video on YouTube about how to convert it for Flash really easily. I've already bought those components, by the way.
So question for you: Did you search for me specifically, or did you just search how to use Flash with an RB67, and then you came across my video? How did it go down?
Oh my gosh, Kevin, you're just leading the question here. Yeah. So I'm gonna frame this for Kevin. So no, I was just so curious about how do I use the RB67 and put a flash on it and make that work in the studio. And so me being just completely unaware of how to do that, I typed into Google, not YouTube, Google. I typed into Google how to use the RB67 with flash, and lo and behold, the first video on YouTube. I clicked on it,
and he saw
it was Kevin.
He saw his podcast partner. He's like, "Oh, this fucking idiot."
I was like, "Oh my gosh, wow, this is so helpful." Okay, yeah, no, it was extremely helpful. There were no other videos on YouTube that were just as helpful. It was clean, concise, and that's not to jack Kevin off. It's really just to like I needed an answer. I needed a solution for a problem. I was just like, okay, I'm going to save about $1,000 on this purchase. It's a mint RB67, like looks untouched. There are no scratches on it. I need to use it for Flash. I don't need to spend an extra $1,000 to make it my life a little bit easier when I can just buy the dongles. Kevin's video came up. It was fantastic. So kind of rephrasing what Kevin said earlier about him being the tech guy, me being the abstract guy. If I ever need anything solved with my cameras or anything film related that's like out of the box, not really found anywhere else in YouTube, Kevin usually has an answer that he's that he's thought through in the last 5 years and practiced and done, and he can give that to me and probably to you. Like, you're now watching this, guess what? You have access to Kevin, which is going to be great for your photography.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked that he went with the RB, but I think that's a great choice. I remember when I was in the same boat, Tyler Shields. If you're a film photographer, you probably know who Tyler Shields is. He and I were talking online, and he was very helpful. And he was actually giving me the hard sell on the RZ. But Tyler Shields sells prints for like $35,000. So he and I live in a different world.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I kind of like the idea of something without a battery. It's completely mechanical. And as long as you can find parts for it, if something breaks, you can fix it. And we have a really cool mechanic, a photography repair guy here that we use in Austin that's really, really badass from Europe. And so I decided to go with the RB. And I have a confession to make, man. I shoot on a Hasselblad 500 cm. I shoot on the Mamiya C330. I've shot on a lot of film cameras, and my favorite film camera to run in the entire world is the RB67. There's this just beautiful rhythm to it. It's a machine. It's a mechanical machine, and it has. And one of these days, being that we're visual now, I should have maybe even brought it in so you could hear the beautiful sounds that it makes, and maybe we'll do that at a later date. But the RB67 to me, and shooting in the 6x7 format is absolutely just stunning. I love the way it looks, and some of my best work was shot in 6x7.
That's why I got it. I asked myself, like, okay, what do I want out of this camera? I want to shoot 6x7, and apart from that, I just want to use it in studio. Your video solved the studio question, and the 6x7 is like, okay, we're gonna test the 90 millimeter 3.8. I believe, is it a 3.8?
Yes.
And that crowd, that's roughly a 50.
Yeah, it's you take it and you multiply it by 0.5. So it's 45.
So for a 35 millimeter SLR or DSLR or mirrorless full frame, a 90 millimeter in 6x7 breaks down to around 50 millimeters.
Yeah, so it's basically a 45 millimeter shot in full frame, but if full frame were shot in a 6x7 aspect ratio versus a 2x3 aspect ratio. So yes, that's how you would view that. But no, the RB67, my YouTube channel, my most viewed YouTube video is the beginner's guide to the RB67. It's like when you type in RB67 on Google, in addition to like how to use the flash, those are the two most they come up the most. It's ranked number 1. So that video helped monetize my channel, that and my R7 review, which I happened to get the very first Canon R7 in all of Austin. And I put out a terrible like quality. It was just fast. I was like, I'm gonna put the first review out on YouTube. I beat like Jared Pullen, I beat Chelsea and Tony Northrup. I got my R7 review out before anybody, and like I was getting like 25 hours of views every like 10 minutes. It was insane. Like it was just shot through, and it helped monetize my channel. So we hustle in the YouTube world. That's just the way it goes.
One last thing I do want to say is for anyone watching and you're looking to get into the 6x7 format, the RB67s and the RZ67s have never been cheaper. They have not been this affordable in about 6, 7, 8 years, maybe. I got a brand new RB67 for $600 on eBay. Like that's insane. They used to be up in the thousands years ago.
How much did you get it for?
$619.
RB no lens or with lens? With the 90.
With lens, yeah.
With the 90. That's good. Yeah, usually they come with the 127, which I believe is also an f3.8. Maybe it's a 3.5. I don't remember. It's my least used lens.
Well, that's the thing about the RZ67 Pro 2, which is so attractive, is they have that 110 2.8,
which is it's basically your normal field of view, 55 millimeter roughly.
Yeah.
At 2.8, but. You know, the thing about it is it's not a depth of field thing, really. It's a light thing because obviously if you're watching this and you shoot on medium format, your depth of field is more shallow. As a matter of fact, it's interesting because I shoot on the Fuji GFX and I shot a campaign. I'm shooting a campaign for a Brazilian jiu-jitsu company right now. And I started shooting my campaign on my GFX 100S. But even at I typically shoot at f8 or f11 in the studio. And even that sometimes is too shallow. I'm like, holy crap, man. Like some of this is out of focus somehow. So I went the opposite way. They booked me for several more dates for this campaign. I brought my hold on, I get it right here. I brought my XH2 with me, and APS-C is on the opposite side of the spectrum. It's a deeper depth of field. So like if you shoot at f11, it's almost like 2 stops deeper than medium format, and like full frame is about 1 stop in between that. So I did it, and like I didn't have to worry about focus fall off as much. I was like, no, everything looks great, even if the athletes are moving around and all that. So yeah. So
these are so sick. The design of Fuji has always been. It's just so Japanese. It's like that Tokyo minimalism, you know what I mean? And I know that sounds super like insensitive and ridiculous, but just like the Japanese have a way where they just incorporate their culture into everything they make.
if Fuji could only get on board with autofocus, I mean, so that's the XH2. Their best autofocus camera is the XH2S, which I had the chance to try out, and it's good, but it's not great. Like, hold on, I have this camera right here, which costs half as much, and I even have a camera smaller than this, the R50 from Canon, that's like a quarter the price of that Fuji XH2, and the autofocus is literally 10 times better. It's just like it just like sticks on your eye the whole time, and you don't even have to think about focusing on things anymore. So Fuji, if you're watching this, please invest in your autofocus. That was a thing. I did a video about the GFX 102. And I haven't used one, so it was just observations. But the limitations of the autofocus are still there. It's better from what I've seen. It looks better, but it's not Canon. It's not gonna. There's limitations with the physical lenses and everything because it's more glass to move and all that. But anyway, went on a little bit of a tangent. But bottom line is Brandon has spent more money on gear than I have this year. I still spent money. I bought this R8, and I did a review on it, and I don't regret it because the amount of advertising revenue I've gotten off my R8 review, like within a month, I've already paid like 15%. I've already made like 15% of the price of this camera in a month. Like it's like in a year, this camera's going to be paid off in nothing but ad revenue.
That's fantastic. It's so difficult to start getting ad revenue on YouTube, and Kevin, more than anyone else, deserves it because you grind so much to get your YouTube videos out there. I don't even know how you found the time.
Well, people sleep.
Like
I don't.
Superman. Yeah, for real. Like
the family goes to sleep, and then I grind.
If Adderall was a person, it would be Kevin.
Oh, good Lord. So this is not going to be a long episode today. We're just kind of playing catch up. We're going to do episodes on cinema. We're going to do episodes on color grading. We're going to have guests in here. We're going to do episodes on philosophy. Like I want to do an episode on when to shoot black and white and when to shoot color. There's a lot of different things that we want to explore on this show, and we hope to take you with us on this journey because it's fun. Brandon and I, we literally met each other and started a podcast. So it's like we're actually getting to know each other while you're getting to know us. It's an interesting dynamic. But so far, a year in, because we released our first episode about about a week from now, it will have been our very first episode that we released, which was January 20th of 2023.
Started on a cold night at the tavern or the Pint House.
Yes.
What the hell was it? Where did we meet?
We drank enough beers to the point where it's like, okay, we have to cut ourselves off so we can drive home. We had some conversations for sure.
I think it was a Stella night. It was a Stella Artois night.
Yeah, and I brought my 7.5 millimeter lens with me because I'm a gearhead. That's what I do.
I know. Well, I don't drink very much anymore, but Kevin hands me the camera. He's like, check out this camera. It's got a 14 millimeter lens on it. And I pick up the camera. I'm like, I can't feel my hands. I'm like, it was good. This is a great camera, dude. I can't feel my fingers.
Fun. Yeah, that was my Fuji X-H2. I'd just gotten it at that point. So, but this is a short episode. We're going to go ahead and peace out. So here we go. That does it for today's episode. We thank each and every one of you for spending your time with us, not only on Apple and Spotify, but now on YouTube. Check us out at f11pod.com. You can find us on all the major social media handles with F11pod. Oh, I still haven't started a Threads account. Maybe one day, but we're definitely on.
We don't need it.
Yes, we're on Facebook and we're on Instagram, which are the two ones that matter anyway. But our philosophy on here is, until next time, chase light and not algorithms.
Thank you for listening to today's episode.
For more information about this podcast, go to www.f11pod.com.